Hey, hello, and welcome to the
Hello.
28th episode of DevKami. I'm Chileon.
I am Tristan.
And this is Swimming that talks a lot. So we have, wow, 28 episode already. Interesting. Don't ask me how we managed to do that, but we managed to do that. So that being said, let's start with our usual ritual. So what should we start first?
With the events. What's
Yep.
happening?
So for events, this Saturday, 6 April, we're going to have an intermediate CSS workshop from UI to HTML and CSS. This is in SS15, Subang Jaya. Do you know anything about this?
This is by Malcolm as well,
I
right?
think this, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Malcolm
So
is right.
he's been doing like the whole from the beginning until like well
Mm-hmm.
he started off with React Basics
Yep.
and then some more React Basics and then intermediate like beginner HTML CSS and I think he's doing intermediate CSS and HTML. I think he's going to do some more React after this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So very good person, very good mentor. So
Yep.
if you would like to brush up on your HTML and CSS skills, or maybe just help along some other people who would want to learn HTML CSS, then you should go here. If you don't have anything to do on
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, unlike
Yep.
Swimming, who has a lot of things to do on Saturday.
Yeah, I have plans. Dating and all that. Just kidding. I might do. We don't confirm yet, but on Saturday, I might do a video demo on some of my stuff. It's programming related, but let's see. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a strong idea yet. So let's move on. On Wednesday, so we can jump straight to Wednesday. We are Python KL meetup, organized by yours truly.
At the
So
Tuksori MSc office.
correct, it's all the way in Subang Jaya,
Mm.
beside the Subang Jaya LRT station.
Mm-hmm.
So this time our guest is Dr. Neo. He is a company that called Light Sense. So what he do is he had a car to actually measure brightness of the street, and here's why. Brightness of the street is for safety, so it reduce crime and make roads safer to go on and all that. And turns out
Is
that he
he
uses Python heavily.
is he the
Yeah,
one that goes around places and records the brightness of the road?
yeah.
So was there a correlation between the brightness and crime?
Yes,
Is that what
actually
he's saying?
they
Ah.
do have it. There is a statistics for it. So what happened is he do that. Actually, he do it as a consultancy for the towns and all that, so that he can people know the lights to fix and all that lah. How to improve it.
Would be interesting if there's a visualization with his data of brightness
You will see
overlaid on a
that
map,
you will
and then there's
see.
crime rates as well.
He might not have crime rate, but he had a cool visualization on the brightness of Malaysian street
Mm.
because we don't have very comprehensive data. So I think that's the event we have until the next DevKami. Anything to add?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think that's about it. Yep.
Yep.
We hit a dry season. We have more coming soon after the week. So now we talk about the interesting we have found online, and we got a few. So let's start with your favorite one. Which one do you want to start first? Oh,
Well,
April Fool. Any interesting one do you see?
the Stack Overflow, I guess, is the most famous one.
Yeah,
Mm.
that is a
It's
good one.
pretty very nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All that is Blink. Just kidding. I don't like Blink.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
No, but
marquee.
yeah.
Oh yeah, they even do all the stuff. I used to do that
Mm.
in GeoCities.
So there's also the Dev one where they
Uh-huh.
put up a page with Gopher links all over.
Yes.
So it's like a throwback as well, but apparently it did not sit well with some people
Yeah.
because it's a distribution and it's like for a number of hours the whole site was actually down, so everything was redirecting there. So it
I thought it got hacked.
well, yeah, but that's the April Fools, right? But then again, it's different because unlike, for example, Stack Overflow, where things were still usable,
Mm.
Yeah.
the whole website was not usable
Okay.
unless you know how to use Gopher, right? So
Right.
that's the thing.
We need a Gopher site. Okay, move on. Let's move on. The Google at these are the one that I saw is the Google actual cloud platform where they put data on the actual cloud. It's silly, but so the next one is actually what is this vulnerability that there is a backdoor that is discovered in Bootstrap says Ruby gem.
Yeah, so it's a Ruby gem. If you are using Rails, well, or Ruby, and most of the time you'll be using Bootstrap SAS as well because Bootstrap is one of the more popular um, like theming or CSS frameworks that you'd use.
Okay.
There is a big vulnerability. It's already been patched, and it's already the gem version has been yanked
Mm-hmm.
already out. But you look at the article explains how it came about. It's not in the GitHub, so there was no commit in the GitHub, but it was a gem that was uploaded into the official servers. So
Interesting.
apparently, one of the maintainers, or possibly, they don't know yet, one of the maintainers' keys were compromised, which
Mm-hmm.
was the one which was used to upload the malicious gem. The gem was using so the how the exploit works was it a middleware was inserted where it read cookies, which then the cookies can have like it that middleware can then execute an unencoded version of the cookie that was uploaded. So for example, if you ever got if for some reason you downloaded this gem
Mm-hmm.
and got it deployed to production, then a client browser can craft a specially designed cookie that can
Mm-hmm.
take over your server. So it's actually a very big thing, but they've
Mm-hmm.
already fixed it. But apparently, some 1,500 plus projects are affected. So it's a big
Okay.
thing.
All right. So the next thing is actually the new web player, Spotify's new web player. So in the
It's about the
article,
story how they came about.
correct. It is built on top of HTML5 and Redux and React. So for example, there are okay. So in the old days, the reason why so many media still use Flash is because Flash has DRM. So you can only one person can watch media at a time. So in Spotify, they use what they call encrypted media extension. Not very long ago, Firefox community actually had a big, not fight, but it's controversial in a way that Firefox will support EME. I believe it's EME, but
Yeah,
the
it
community,
is.
huh?
It is.
So what happened is there's a number of people within the community that says the Firefox stands for freedom, and DRM do not sit well with freedom. But so what happened is then Firefox decided to be pragmatic and adopt it. So as a result, Firefox can play video from uh, Netflix and a few sites that actually support this. Now maybe even Spotify if it works. So anything else?
One question is a bit of
Yes.
off topic. Can you use can we use the same DRM mechanism to do encryption as well?
I don't know. Actually, I
Client
do
side
not
encryption,
know. I do
because
not.
you see there's the irony of uh, governments are being lobbied to support this anti-piracy and DRM and stuff. But
Yeah,
in the way is that they're going towards a regression of going back to the plain text or non-encrypted web.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm not sure how this is where if you can use it to do a client-side encryption, it will
yeah,
be a double-edged sword.
yeah. That's the problem. The DRM things goes both way. Get
Yeah.
weird real soon. All right. I think I need to talk about the last thing. I hope you don't mind. I talk about the last thing from here. So we had this. In the Python community, there is actually uh, a popular article about building a portfolio app. So there's a few of the article. One of the thing that I share on Engineers Byte is about using Django to build a portfolio app from real Python. I think we need to take, as a developer, we really need to have our own portfolio app. The only thing is,
Really? Do you have your portfolio app?
I used to have one. Is a blog site. I think I need to change it into something else. A portfolio site is not a blog site in a way that you should showcase that your knowledge on certain platform, which is why in the Python community they advocate using a Python-based web framework. So for Ruby, maybe they use Rails or their framework. So the point of this is so that we can show our skill and we can share the code on GitHub and actually put it live on our portfolio site. So I think it's something that we should think about. I think it's a good idea, but I put it this way: listen to what I say, but don't do what I do. So I think that's I think that's enough time.
Yeah. Also,
For
shout out to the same website as well. Real Python is actually a very good Python resource website.
Yep,
So check the rest of the articles.
correct. So
Let's go to our topic.
yes, the topic. Yep.
Yeah, it's our topic for this week is quarterly review.
Yep.
So what we're supposed to talk about quarterly review?
I don't know.
Okay, so originally this week we actually had a guest, but our guest is sick.
Yeah.
So meaning we don't actually we had to delay our guest till next week. So in the last minute I thought let's talk about stuff that we discovered for the last 3 months, right? 3 months plus. So and you know what? And it just barely fit our a quarterly review about what we have learned.
Yeah,
So I
we've in
thought,
the fourth month already in 2019.
yeah. But it's early fourth month,
Yeah.
so we have
Yeah.
90 plus days. So it's 3 months plus a few days.
Yeah.
So I thought it's a good idea to take opportunity to talk about something more about technology than what we usually does. Sometimes I find out that we tend to be doing the soft side of the technology, which is a good thing because we have a lot more other resources to talk about the hard side of technology, the actual tools itself. But I think why not take opportunity to talk about things that we actually like, tools and stuff, right? So yeah, so who should start first? It's a mistake.
You should start.
According to the schedule, you said you're going to start
Yes,
first.
me I'm going to well, I should put it in the back so this make it outward.
Mine is simpler. You go
Yeah.
first.
All right. Okay. So how much time do I have? What a screw up. Oops. I should not say that. Okay, I got 15 minutes. Okay, so within 15 minutes, let's talk about things that I discovered. So I remember that I was hyping about deep learning not very long ago. So, and I've been telling everyone that all I want to have in my life as a deep learning library is have dog, have object parameterized dog from image part, something like this, right? So there's this app called Darknet. Uh, it's something that I discovered very early this year. So Darknet is an application that runs deep learning. So this it's not Grab. It's an application that runs a deep learning model, and you can use it to process image. One of the thing that well known for is this is actually a reference implementation of what we call a YOLO object detection system. You only look once, which is actually popularized by Andrew Ng in their machine learning thing. So .NET is cool because it supports multiple type of model. So this thing only runs neural network and they don't make a lot of assumption. You have to provide with the models, but the repository already provide you with the model you need. You can use it to run on CPU and they have GPU support. You do not need TensorFlow and all that. But it only support CUDA, so that's mean NVIDIA. So it's a very state-of-the-art network. And I suggest that you try NetMemo. It's fun. So anything you want to know about .NET?
Why YOLO again?
YOLO, because YOLO is one of those advanced way to identify object in a photo or video. So there is multiple type of model for identifying image. You will keep hearing things like this. So you got ImageNet, you got ResNet, and you got YOLO. And YOLO is cool because you can put it on the video and you can identify object in real time. Not all machine learning model, not all image model can do that. So do you understand what does it mean by model and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand the intricacy of doing image recognition?
Not really, but I think it's cool, I guess. I've
Yeah,
never
yeah,
done
yeah.
it myself.
So the problem with image recognition is uh, it's t- so I'm going to start from. Let me try to put it in a simple item. Okay, so machine learning model, deep learning require image process, image object recognition is actually very hard. The current way of doing this is what we call deep learning. Deep learning is actually what we call architecture of neural network, multiple layers of neural network, each do something, and you use it to identify cat, dogs, flower. The benchmark for this is a thing called CIFAR is a conference, and ImageNet is also another one that keep hearing. So those are used to those are competitions in sort of conference to actually identify which is the model best used to identify image. So with deep learning and all that, you can get like 90% or so, but not everything can use it to do real time. YOLO is one of those fast ones that you can literally plug in into your webcam, apply to your webcam, and put it in front of your door to identify whether there's a dog in front of your house or car and whatnot. So,
Okay.
so what happened is, as a software developer, you don't really care about neural network. This is actually very cool because you just take this application, one .NET with a parameter of neural network, and use it to do whatever you need.
How about
Maybe I do that
yeah,
in the
how about
demo
this
next time.
PyEnv that you wrote here?
Okay, the Ruby guys have Ruby environment for a very long time. What's the Ruby environment management that you guys use again, Tristan?
I,
RVM.
well,
RVM, right?
that's what I use. Lots of people prefer RBEnv,
Oh, okay.
which I
So,
guess is PyEnv was based from.
so the Python community do not have this kind
What
of
do you mean?
environment
It's just
management.
Python 3, right? Who
No, not
else uses?
true.
Because
Nobody uses Python 2 anymore.
no,
Not true.
but the feature set of each version of Python 3, like 4,
Yeah,
5, and 6 and 7, they have different they
that
not backward compatible kind of changes.
correct. And
So
also your operating system sometimes stick with 2.7, especially older version operating system.
yeah, and if they bundle with it, normally they start with something like 3.5.
Yeah, correct,
3.5 is good for most cases, but if you want some of the latest feature, you might want to go to the
correct.
special, like your custom installation, or you use something like PyEnv.
Yep. So what happened is, I give a quick example. There is one time where I install what's the version? Anaconda Python distribution on Linux on my home directory. I thought everything is awesome, right? But turns out that HP lib, there's a HP driver for Linux, is written on Python, and it's on Python 2. So they use some code that don't support in Python 3 anymore. I cannot use the printer. So environment is actually very cool because you can it's like Ruby environment, right? You can put your Ruby version in by directory of your project directory. PyEnv do the same thing by make sure that your project directory can support different Python version.
Yeah, but do you know how exactly it does that? Because
Yeah,
in so in Ruby, for example, the RBEnv, the
yeah,
way it does it is it changes the path. so
Correct.
that the Ruby path that is custom is
Yep.
first. So and the way like the environment is set up is, or like at least the bash auto completion or
Mm-hmm.
the searching of binaries is done is that it searches the path in order, right? So that's how RBNF does it, is it rearranges depending on which Ruby version
Correct.
you are. It switches the path so that it, like the Ruby version that you wanted is first, and so that's what it executes. Do you know how Pyen does
Uh,
it?
It's the
it's
same,
it's the
Mm-hmm.
same actually.
but
Yeah,
instead of if you have a custom installation of, let's say, 3.5 and 3.6, instead
yeah,
of having to remember where the path of both them resides, you
yeah.
just PyEnv has this special environment where you set like
Mm.
3.7, then you switch it to 3.7.
Okay,
And
because
they can support a thing called virtual environment, so you can have different version of 3.7 with different set of library you install.
And it works very well with pipenv as well.
Yep. Uh,
And
what's pipenv?
yeah,
pipenv
PM is
is,
similar to Node NPM.
yeah,
It's a bit more similar to NPM in the way that it make your packages to be more local.
yeah. And you can
So you
specify
know,
which Python version you want.
and you can more importantly you can set up your Python like uh, uh what's the npm package file again?
Pip,
No, the npm package definition.
package JSON.
I, I
Use
posted
it,
like
PENP,
I
all
posted
that.
something on the channel because it reminded me of an XKCD comic
Yeah,
Correct, correct,
it's
about
like
these things.
correct.
those are to solve this issue.
Mm.
Correct. Is to handle this kind of issue because
Yeah.
it's a mess. I'm going to tell you Python environment can be a mess. So I'm going to be honest with that. But it's the
Okay.
Yeah.
language I use since 98.
Yeah.
So
No, just asking. Sorry.
yeah,
And
no
then
problem.
you mentioned here about Docker.
Oh yeah, I finally use Docker in production. Yay.
Hmm?
That's
How
a
was it? How was it?
I like it. I don't hate it.
What kinds of problems did it solve?
Uh, it make deployment easy because the team is young, so they do not have production
Do you
experience.
build do you build your container from your computer and push to production?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay. No, I mean as in, do you build them on your computer?
Yeah, I actually built that locally.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
I know.
I'm waiting to say this.
So
Why
I'm
not?
still,
But isn't that the point of the Docker image? You can build it anywhere
Yep,
and then
you
it's the
you can
same
build it
image?
anywhere, but the depends, like, but um I prefer the approach of reproducible builds,
yeah.
so that something that can be rebuilt from scratch and work just fine. Like, especially like I do a lot of Golang, so
Yeah.
if I build locally, I have all the pre-installed packages and Go path setup. But if it's in a build server, that I know like which path which special dependencies that I'm using that doesn't work on others people computer.
Okay. Uh,
Something like that.
Something to think about because we had a stability problem in
Yeah.
production.
If your
Uh,
problem you try to solve is to have the uh, same artifact
yeah.
that runs on your computer on the
Mhm.
production, then it actually is just enough to serve the purpose. But
Yeah.
if you want others people to able to build it and produce the
Mhm.
same artifact, then you might need to do this certain
Mm.
isolation.
Yeah.
What
But
Because
stability? Sorry, swimming. What stability issue were you having?
our project is pretty well. It's part project management, part experience of the team thing.
why don't you
Things.
become a team manager? Are you the team
No,
manager
no, no,
there?
no, 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 no. I'm not a team manager, but I don't like to work in the code that is put this way. I will work in the team and I see a problem, I want to fix it. So that's the thing. And I think Docker can solve the problem. It's already used for our test environment, but I think we can do better to make our environment more stable and make things easier to work with.
The one thing that because I won't be having that much of to talk about on my side, so I'm gonna just interrupt you guys.
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. I
thing
think we can.
the thing that I like about Docker is especially on all these dynamic languages like Python, Ruby, that uses source file and source packages, or also like Node.js,
Mhm.
that make sure that everything's is there, and without having to rely on like to know like which virtual amp for which version to run during production and
Yep.
which like that the issue that we had last time.
Hmm. So
So
one
yeah,
so one thing okay, so what Docker is so for the team is we make sure that dependencies and setup is more consistent. So can take the image, just build on top of it, build the Python code on top of it, without worry about dependencies and all that. That to me is a big win because the team is not. I think this make it easy for newcomer when a newcomer comes in, they can pick up and start right away. So that to me is an awesome thing to work on, really. But it's not put it this way, I'm not a 21st century developer. So Docker is like my first step to the 21st century. So yeah, I think
welcome,
Docker is cool.
welcome.
Docker is, yeah. So PyEnv is one of those modern Python development environment. Then Docker is another one,
Yeah.
and I'm looking
So
forward to it. Yeah,
it's interesting that you mentioned about um, the like how easy it is to set up, because there's just this article that's being shared about legacy Rails saying that it's a red flag when you need to pair with someone to get your development environment set up.
yeah.
So there's like, yeah, so it gives like your
You can
development
set up
setup
it.
should already be in such a formalized process that all you have to do is you either Docker Compose up or
Yeah,
Vagrant up, or
yeah.
like it's all set up that nobody needs to go and pair with you and set it up for you.
Correct. So the end goal is if we can get an environment set up with database of whatever that you need with one command, that's a win, and that is very cheap, very valuable because when you build a complex project, and our project is actually complex with details that I can only share during our coffee session. But so it's already bad enough that the business object is complicated. If you can move the hardware complexity, the environment complexity away, that is very good. So, and because you're primary software developers, that's one reason. So we don't have to do ops. And the second reason is where we're going, we do not need servers. I've been telling people that. So we should make it easy for people to move on. So anything else you want to talk about on top of Docker?
No, well, what about the next one? Intermediate Python project
Oh,
ideas.
that one I just like to share to everybody because let's say you want to learn a new tool, this is a good place for you to start a new language, for example, a new framework, a new X, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
primarily, this is very useful for you want to learn a new language or a new framework, application framework. Then I just want to share that because it's just that. The next one is the Udacity had a free Keras course with collaboration with Google. It's not complete yet. They didn't release new content, but they show you the latest version of Keras, no, TensorFlow 2.0. Uh, so that is actually really interesting. And also they use a different way to teaching. If you use deep learning, you will use things like CIFAR that's the object identification, or MNIST, that's the handwritten number. But this one, they go straight ahead to do, they touch some the handwriting numbers, MNIST data set, but the more interesting one, they go straight to the fashion data set. So with a photo, you can identify what type of clothes the person is wearing, and I think that's pretty cool. And you don't need to set up a local environment; you set it up on Google Colab. Google had a online environment called Colab for you to run deep learning things on their hardware for free. So this course run the whole thing through it. So yeah, I think it's okay up to a level, but I'm waiting. They promise to add a few more content in the future. For example, how do you deploy a machine learning model from TensorFlow to your phone or to a web application? So I'm looking forward to that, but they didn't update the course for a while. The next one is XArcs. Do you know what is XArcs?
Yeah, it's you. It's like when you ls, for example, it's a lot of lines.
Yeah,
It each of them becomes an argument to the next one you pipe into,
correct.
right?
I need to show that in the future tutorial, but I've been abusing Xarcs a lot recently. So I need to show you how I need to figure out a way for me
What
to.
context are you using xargs on? Like bash scripts or something?
So what happened is we had some keyword that is shared between JSON, for example, a JSON file and a Python file or in a JavaScript file, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we write code, the keywords is used as a variable. It's a variable name that's shared across JavaScript and JSON file, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I only care about this keyword for Django models file. The Django models file is models.py, right? Commonly. So what I do is I like find dot slash dash name models.py, then grab some variable names in the models file. So I've been using that a lot. So Xarcs, I don't use that a lot until this year. So I just thought it's cool, and I thought I want to
Mm-hmm.
learn more how Xarcs work. And also Xarcs doesn't work the same on Linux and on Mac. You know that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mac one is using the older version.
Correct. They use older version. So as a result, I think you can't use dash I or something. One of those things you can't use. So Xarcs is actually very cool. And
Because
the
of
fine,
GPL.
yep. The final new old thing is so in Python you can just pass a variable as part of the string
Yeah, which
template.
version was they started introducing this 3.6 or 7? 3.6,
Yeah,
right?
I think yeah
3.6.
6. I know because we use 3.6 in production and it's working.
Yeah,
I know it's after 5.
and 3.6 is not a standard distribution of Linux.
Yeah,
Right now, it is as far as I know, is 3.5, right?
correct. Which is why we use a thing called PyEnv so that we can get 3.6 ready to use.
Uh, how do I get the version of a Python? Python dash
I
v?
done dash version.
Yeah,
Oh, Python dash just
so
version.
it's
I just want to see
Yeah,
what it's
probably you need
2.7.15.
Python 3, then Python 3, then dash version.
correct.
Oh, okay. It's
So the
3.6.7.
Yeah.
yeah. So there's some. So the last two thing is about my kung fu skill in programming. The miscellaneous thing is MicroPython on M5 stack. This is the thing that at PM 2.5, these two things comes together because I need a reasonably useful microcontroller based devices to talk to PM 2.5 sensor for the Project Haze Watch.
MicroPython is a subset of the Python language, right?
Correct. They only implement the syntax, but not the standard library. Because the standard library also depends on features that is available on modern operating system. And MicroPython are aimed to be on microcontrollers that do not have all the features for microprocessor have.
So it's interpreted, or does the
It's
MicroPython
actually
gets compiled?
interpreted.
Oh,
It's
it's interpreted.
interpreted. It's interpreted.
So it's
Because
almost like a Google AMP for like it's a subset of HTML5 for fast pages.
yeah, correct. But this is slightly different. But so this is interpreted, but it's fast, and for some reason, it's popular to a certain class of microcontroller. Okay, I need to close it soon. But this story is interesting because it's related to one of our future project, which I'll share later. It's called Project Haze Watch KL by
I thought
engineers.m1.
you have a code name for it.
I don't have a code name for it. Actually, I'm leaning toward Jerobot.
You don't want Aranku?
Yeah,
No,
I
Aranku.
know. Not a one time, not a one.
Awanku, Awanku.
Uh, so, uh, so I think we'll share about Project Haze Watch in one of the separate show
Afterwards.
later.
No, depends on how fast I finish. Mine will be very
Yeah,
fast.
correct. And so to the next future project, I'm collecting photos of Gui because I want to build deep learning model for
What do you
Gui.
call it? The GUI watcher?
I don't have a
Quaku.
code name for that
GUI
too.
Quaku.
I don't have a code name for that project
My
too,
kui. My kui.
but I will share the link to the
Quaku.my.
OneDrive,
Yeah.
the
Kui.dev.
OneDrive directory that's created by Lao
did,
Han.
did you get kui.dev?
No, I should get it, don't I? Too late. You tell everybody they're going to buy it.
Yeah, too late.
But this Google Drive is created by Lao Han. So he created a directory, but everybody can upload photo of Kueh to it. It's not practical, but it's interesting project.
Yeah, at least it's a start.
Yeah, correct. And the end goal is this will be an open Kueh, huh? Okay, it's an open Kueh data set to be used for your data science work,
So
machine learning
yeah,
work.
so you'll be the kui man.
Yeah. There's a reason why I'll be fat. Okay, I've gone too fast. I think the next one is Tristan. Tristan, tell me what your review for the
So
last few months.
it's not so the biggest ones that I've been working on the past quarter
Yep,
was silent login through iframes. So
yep,
do you know how OAuth works, right?
yep. We
You
need a
you go to
token
the
and
site,
information.
yeah, and then
Yep.
everything happens through a redirect basically because that's the generally how you establish the trust is through um, the browser knows that this is the domain and has all of the certificates, etc. And then that's why the redirect happens because you communicate through the passing of parameters while the redirect happens. The problem there is that with an SPA, single page application, you don't
Mm-hmm.
want the redirects happening because you
Yeah.
want the person to stay on the page. But then
Yeah.
the problem
Yep.
is you cannot do the OAuth dance.
And you're not supposed to give them, especially for XPA, the refresh token.
Yeah. So it's a bit difficult to do that because you're like if you refresh the page and it's not an SPA anymore, you have to reload all of the JavaScript, etc. And so what I've been doing was figuring out a way to do the OAuth behind the scenes while still keeping it secure. So basically, like creating an iframe where all the redirects happen. So it's still happening, but
Mm-hmm.
then making sure that the window callbacks are secure such that it it only will transfer, like it will call back the tokens
Mm-hmm.
to a trusted website, which is on like particularly on the domain. So there's a lot of like HTML specific ones like location dot. I already forgot it. When the pop-up, like let me quickly look at it. So when the pop-up or the window callback, I
Mm-hmm.
forgot. uh, so you can so a page basically knows whether it was opened by a different page, and so it can call back to its parent, right? So window dot opener, so window dot opener, so getting that secure was a big thing. And I think by the time I left, this was already working in a quite like good way. So you can have a modal window where you log in through Facebook or you log in through OAuth like what we're using Auth0, and it all happens behind the scenes through that iframe. So it was an
Okay.
interesting one because back before when we had Ajax, the way you can submit a form without refreshing the page is by submitting it a post request to an iframe to itself to an iframe, right? You open an
Mm-hmm.
iframe and then you post the thing
Yep.
there. And
Oh,
that's like it's
yeah.
interesting that um like a few years after, like maybe like 15 years after, we're going back
Yeah.
to the same roots, like.
I'm not sure if you know,
Mm-hmm.
but the latest standards for this OAuth thing is actually called OpenID Connect,
No, I
and
haven't.
it's actually part of the specification for SPA to use a hidden iframe to do a submission in the background.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know. So
yeah.
I just
So
thought that,
yeah,
oh, is it a formal
yeah.
specification
It's a
now?
format. Yeah, you just go through the specification and
Mm.
it's inside the one of the paper.
Oh,
Because
cool.
I'm trying to implement a OAuth server and provider, so
Mm-hmm.
need to read them
Nice.
through.
So yeah, so I guess I I ended up with implementing a formal specification without like actually knowing about it. But then again, it makes sense, right? Because
Yeah.
that is how we did things before, and that is generally like respecting the same protocols and procedures as before. It's just that now you have a different way of doing things. So yeah, that was a fun task. The next one is what I'm actually learning in the past few weeks would be
Mm-hmm.
the React and Redux and all of these things. And because before I was doing Vue.js,
Mm-hmm.
and Vue.js and React, there's the same component philosophies, but they're actually very different in how they
Yeah.
approach things. So Vue.js, I would say, is very similar to how Rails would do it. It's very what you'd say omakase. So if you're in a Japanese restaurant, it's an omakase restaurant, right? The Japanese chef chooses the menu for you, chooses the course for you. They like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you eat this and you eat this. You have no choice because that's the chef does the choices for you. It's the same in Rails. DHS said that DHS is the
The creator of
creator
Rails.
of Rails. He said Rails is omakase because Rails chooses the parts for you. You are going to use active record, and if you don't want to use active record, you want to use data mapper, for example, then there's a lot more configuration involved. But if you use active record, if you use active support, and you use active job and everything that comes with Rails, then every life becomes a lot easier. And Vue.js has almost a similar philosophy. So
Mm-hmm.
in Vue.js, you have Vue, and then you have Vuex, and you have Vue router, and all of these all work together, right? So
Yeah.
that means every Vue.js project looks the same. And if you're going from one Vue.js project to another, it's very, very easy for a developer to immediately get in and find out where things are because the structure is the same. Not a lot of people will deviate from Vuex, for example. They will just use
Yeah.
Vuex, which is the state management system.
Mm-hmm.
They will all use Vue Router. They're not going to roll their own, or they're not going to use something else. There are some projects that will do that, but most of the time, 95% of the time, it will use the same things that the Vue.js developers have chosen for them, similar to Rails. Now,
Mm-hmm.
React is a very different story. React is just a component library,
Mm-hmm.
but for state management, for example, you have a lot of things. You have Mobex, I think. I don't even remember.
Mobex
Yeah,
React,
Mobex.
Redux,
There's Redux.
and there's a
There's
context.
yeah. So it's like, yeah. Use context now is apparently the way that they would like to it because it's now built into the library. So it's a wild
Yeah,
west of things. And aside from that, so there's Redux, but then it's a synchronous state management system. If you want asynchronous state management, then you have even more choices. You have Redux Tunk, which
yeah.
apparently is the more popular one now. There's Redux Observable. There's Redux Saga. So I find that the philosophies are very different. That in React, you have a very wide range of choices. And as you can say you're a React developer, but that doesn't really tell anything much now. Because yes, you might know the component library, but most of the work being done is also on the state management. So you have to also say what kind of state
Yeah.
management systems are you.
There's a there's a lot of routers as well.
Yeah, so the routers, for example, in the project I'm working with, is a hand rolled router. So it's like it's apparently that's how things were in the beginning. Like React says, oh, you're flexible, you can do whatever you want, and the first things that the tutorials will actually tell you is how to roll your own router because it's just JavaScript, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it becomes, because everyone rolls their own router, it can be quite different in implementation from one project to another.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very interesting how the philosophies are diverging. I can see why many React developers absolutely refuse to work with Vue.js. Malcolm, for example, doesn't like Vue.js. He's a React guy because it can feel that you're in a straight
Constricting.
jacket, right? Yeah, exactly. It's very constricting. There's one way and there's the best way. It's like Python, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's one way and there's the best way of doing
Not
things.
anymore.
Correct, exactly.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore.
Not anymore. Now you
Oh.
have like you want to use the async way. You want to use
Mm.
the threading way,
Yeah,
the multiprocessing way.
but if you use the language generally, you get it's the right thing. It's
Yeah.
yeah, right, but there is also
Mm.
counter example for
Yeah,
that.
because they say that even when exiting a Python, uh, like repo,
Yeah,
there's only one way to exit a Python
Yeah.
repo, which
yeah,
is to
correct.
type. I don't even know what to type. How do you exit a
Control
Python
D.
repo? No, it doesn't even work with Control D. There's only one way.
I use Control D to exit.
Really? Is
Yeah.
Yeah.
that it? Okay.
Yeah.
But there was like that joke where there's only one way to exit and that's it. And that's the best way. And apparently
Yeah.
in Python philosophy, there should be just one way and that should
Yeah.
be the best way of doing things. And so it
Correct.
looks like that's how Vue.js tends to do it. Like
Yeah.
this is the way, and the same with Rails, right? It's the
And
way that the framework deciders have decided, and that's how we should
And
do
it's not
it.
a bad thing. And
the
it's
thing
not
that
a
I like
bad thing.
about Vue.js is closer to the bare metal, so you
Yeah.
are accessing the DOM directly inside the components level. That's if I'm
Well,
correct.
not
Not anymore.
necessarily.
Okay.
Well, no, it hasn't been like that. Most of the component frameworks have all, like React started this trend with the shadow DOM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you do it. The difference with Vue.js and React is that Vue.js mutates the shadow DOM, which makes it
Mm.
slightly more
Oh,
performant in that case. But
but does it
React,
work?
yeah, it does. So that's the thing. The magic is hidden away from you. Whereas in
Mm-hmm.
React, it's very clear when they say that, okay, you have this DOM,
Mm-hmm.
and we will every new render is a new render. Like it will diff the things, but it will not mutate. So it's very much apparent on the state management systems, for example, right? In Vuex, it's very mutatable. You assign state to it, and then when you mutate the object that the state is assigned to, the state changes. Whereas in React, every time you change the state, you have to create a new object, which the current state is overwritten with. So
Mm.
different philosophies there. And so if you want to do some kind of optimization, for example, because in React that means if you have a huge state, then every time you want to change the state, you have to change the whole state again, right? So in React, it's up to you to create that a diffing algorithm so that you don't change. So whenever you do change the state, it's not the whole thing that changes. So you break it down into multiple pieces
Yeah.
so that it's the
It's
only
more
particular
discipline
parts.
to it involve more discipline of the programmer.
Yeah. So a lot of so it's the and that's the thing that I've been learning is that the philosophies are very different. React pushes a lot of these things to the developer, and so the developer has a lot of control. At the same time, the developer has a lot of responsibility to make sure things work.
Yeah.
Whereas in Vue.js, a lot of that load is taken by the framework, so the framework takes care of a lot of things for you. But I guess for the more advanced cases, you're also more restricted.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally have not been uh, facing those advanced use cases in Vue.js. So that's why I feel that at least for beginners, Vue.js might be a lot better to choose. But then again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm biased because I started with Vue.js. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel that if you have the need for a certain control, like maybe you really need very fast rendering, or you really need a lot of control over your UI, then maybe the React way might be a bit better in that sense. But
Yeah.
that's just what I've been learning so far.
Yeah. So I like Vue. React
Hmm.
confused me, but I can see React is very powerful.
It's actually it's actually a true statement that is pretty confusing for beginners.
Yeah.
And even though even for beginners, the code that you write might not be that performant as well.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get started, but to get good, you actually the it's actually steeper.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like the Unix way.
It's like you get a gun that you can shoot your foot with, or
Yeah.
you can, like, it's easier. It's like C,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
easier to shoot your foot with it.
All right. So what's the next
Yeah.
item?
The next one would be the first 90 days, because so it's interesting when you first um, get into a new job.
Mm-hmm.
So I will link to that one, to this article as well. The first 90
Mhm.
days. First 90 days. I forgot the name of the author.
So is it
So
about evaluating?
no, no, no. It's about so rants and repose. Wait, sorry. Let me just get in.
Yep.
And so he's a programmer that became a manager, and he has a lot of insight about these things. 90
Mhm.
days. Okay, I will link it to the channel, and I think Chiliong is going to put it on the show notes. So I'll just read the first paragraph. So when you
Yep.
accept a new job, you don't know who you're going to work with, what you are going to be doing, and how
Mm.
much or how little you're going to like it.
Yep.
So call everyone you want, ask their opinions, trust that the fact that a good friend referred you to the gig, revel in the idea that the company has a good pedigree, but don't delude yourself that in a smattering of interview hours that you're going to have anything more than a vague hint of your new life.
Mhm.
So it's just saying that even though you've done all of your research, and we were just talking about job interviews the previous episodes, that
Yep.
it's never really the same as in spending your first 90 days doing stuff in the company. And so
Yep.
I'm feeling that this is actually quite true, that there are still a lot of things I'm learning. I thought I because I know a lot of friends in the company, I thought I would already know exactly, like hit the ground running and just run with it. But there's a
Mm.
lot of things that I'm still learning about it, the culture, like,
Mhm.
and it's true what we were talking about in the previous episodes, that you never really can do a perfect culture fit interview or perfect technical interview.
Mhm.
It's just an approximation, because it's really how you perform in the first 90 days, and it's also me about like figuring out whether I still like it, or and them
Mhm.
figuring out whether they still like me, right?
Yeah.
And the last paragraph of this article is saying your job interview isn't over until you have a framework of how you are going to interact with these people, and that means understanding not only their goals but also their invaluable personal quirks. What they tell
Mhm.
you the first week has more to do with the fact that you're new than what they actually feel. What they tell you after 90 days is the truth. Your job interview isn't over until you've changed to become part of a new team.
Yep.
And that's something that I feel that I'm still going through, and it's a really good thing that I've learned
Yep.
over the quarter.
Yeah. You often you do not get to be like a team member until much later, actually.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that's it. We are getting very late. Chileon, what you have
I
for us?
actually have very short, very bad short-term memory nowadays. I
Okay.
don't remember anything that I learned, I but what I want to share is I actually spent a lot of time not perfecting, but learning all the minor details of the tools that I've been using, like even like
Mhm.
Golang on Python, certain tips and tricks and stuff. And also
Mhm.
by trying to do, I'm trying to do screencasts and a lot of Google Hangout with tutorial group if people who want it. So in a way, it helped me to reinforce whatever that I know. So yeah. Nothing new, not learning anything new, but reinforcing what I know. So
Yeah.
Okay, shall we do? We have a few people on the
yeah,
live,
Yep.
watching
yeah.
live.
Amiro and Manju,
Manju's here.
Yeah.
Apparently, Amirul's Python is 3.7.2.
yeah, somebody is
And
living close to the edge.
and Simeng Kui.ai. Would you like that? I think that's good.
Mm.
Yeah,
Kui.ai.
that's nice.
Yeah,
No?
also
Yep.
announced that Koi.dev is still open for sales.
Yeah.
Grab it before swimming this.
I'm not sure. Is it really uh, Control D
Yeah,
for
it's
execute
contrary.
Python?
Yeah,
Control D. Ah, yeah, you're right.
that's what I've been
Okay.
using for anything,
Yes.
for the shell as well.
So yeah,
But how
apparently
about quit?
3.7 is provided by Manjaro. Yeah, it's really the cutting
Hey,
edge.
hey, quit parentheses also works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So okay, we don't have much of this. So anything
And
else you want to talk about before that?
yeah,
Okay, so I promise that we have more interviews. We promise that we have more interviews this year. We have been failing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you'll be
it's my
failing.
fault.
Sorry,
My fault.
pushing it to you. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
it's my
fine.
fault. We definitely get more so that because we kind of run out of ideas. Just kidding. We always have ideas to talk what to talk about.
Yeah,
So,
we just
but
try to
we
have
want.
more self-restraint.
So we need to have. The idea is we hope to have more developers of Malaysia, or maybe Southeast
Yep.
Asia.
Show people
Uh,
your face. Talk about
yeah,
yourself.
correct. Because it's not supposed to be us, and we want to burst the bubble.
Yeah.
So we do not want to be in our little bubble. We want to have more. We need to
Mm.
want to learn from you, right? Because each of us only have limited experience, believe it or not.
Yep.
So recommend me someone. Recommend me someone. I'll talk to them, or even better, ask them to talk to us. We will accept. Okay, we will filter
We'll probably
first.
get Amirio up here to talk about Manjaro.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So
I've never used Manjaro. I don't know
Manju
what it
says
is.
that he was going to talk about testing.
Yeah.
Manju.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay.
They
So
got
that's it.
COVID.
We will try to get more people to come up. So if you have people to introduce, ask them to talk to me,
Yep.
or pass me their contact, you know where to find me and the team. Then we ask them to join us. So I think that's all from me.
Yep. That's it for me as well.
So
We have
anything
an
else
Yeah, I
to
think
say?
this is the only one that we can stop early
Yeah,
4 minutes
by
early.
4 minutes.
yeah, 4 minutes. Also
Yep.
come. Oh yeah, PyCon CFP have been started. We forget to
Yep.
announce.
On April 1st, it is not
Yeah.
an April Fool joke.
Yes.
So it is a real opening. So, yep, if you're interested, sign up.
As a
Mm,
core PyCon Malaysia member, it's a legit site. We'll put it on the official website soon. So join us. Do not worry about your seniority. I want to know about your experience.
Yep.
If you're junior,
Storytelling is much more important.
correct.
So this is
Ideally, we just accept, tell a story, and we'll talk to you and all that. That's just more
yeah.
important to
So
me.
this one is a bit off topic, but when Gmail first came out, it was April Fools,
Yeah,
and it was 2000 something, and Google announced Google Mail, and everyone thought it was April Fools, but this was actually they actually did it.
Yep.
yes.
And so that's why you will know people who are quite like older or
Hmm.
something based on their Gmail account.
Yep.
If they have the first name last name
Yeah,
taken, then most likely they're like more like
yeah,
they got the domain quite they got that account early on. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I think what 15 years of Gmail,
I have
yes,
no
15 years ago,
idea.
so 2004
yeah.
April
And
Fools.
also, yeah, and
And
also
it
the
was
Quay
a
project.
private invitation last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
You
got
need to
it.
know somebody who got a
Yes,
Gmail account.
yes.
And you had like
Mm,
25 invites, and then you like,
Oh,
okay, I give it to a few people.
I
So you
got
I
got
got
mine
started.
20.
at 2008.
Mm,
I get it
11
from
years.
2007,
Yeah.
2006, so I'm old.
cool.
Uh,
And I guess
the
with
Quay
that,
project also announced on April Fool, just so you know.
Come on, we need to end early today.
okay.
All
By
right,
2 minutes.
that's it. I think goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah,
That's all,
remember to
everyone.
subscribe.
Yep, subscribe, click like,
Yeah,
and all the
and
things.
feedback to us if you find any of us annoying or too
Yes,
cute,
yeah.
and you want to
So,
ask anyone out, like especially swimming.
nah, I'm okay with that guys there. So that
He's
being said,
Bye.
yeah, bye.
yeah, bye.
Yeah, for your GUI
So.
project, man.